Do you feel like you want a change? Maybe you're burnt out from your 9 to 5 and nothing really makes you happy. I've been there. I had the dream life as a working artist in Hollywood, but instead of feeling happy and fulfilled, I just felt depressed and confused. But I think I managed to figure out a way to heal from this life of hustle culture. In this video, I'm going to be sharing what I did to get what I actually wanted out of life while making over my home desk setup. Good morning! It is a lovely morning. It snowed last night. It's absolutely beautiful. It looks like a Thomas Kincaid painting. It looks like I live in a Calvin and Hobbes comic panel. It's so cold. It took me a lot of effort to come out here, set up everything. At least no one's outside, so I feel like I can make as much noise as possible and not disturbing the neighbors or being a weirdo Californian who films herself. What I'm going to be doing, I have all these pieces of shelving that I have to miter on the side of the boxes so they fit perfectly together. Can you see my breath? I don't think you can. In May of 2022, I left my life in California in search of a radical change. Leaving California meant a lot to me. I was leaving the place I grew up in and the place where I built my career in Hollywood. It did not turn out how I imagined it would. So, absolutely nothing is simple in DIY, and I've messed up a very simple miter cut. I did not cut fully a proper angle. There's a whole chunk here that should have been cut off but wasn't. What I am supposed to do is line up visually where this is going to make a good cut, make a few test cuts, adjust, make a few more test cuts until it's perfectly 45 degrees. You don't just set it and forget it. Apparently, I watched all those videos before, learned how to do it, completely forgot, and then messed up. Let's see if I can do this right. California represented the ambitious young artist in me that desperately needed validation. I needed to prove that I could make it and become successful as an artist. Thus marked my entry into a fast-paced, stressful world. Hustle culture and living for my 9 to 5 dominated my life, and I quickly became very burnt out. I lost sight of why I worked so hard in the first place and my purpose for doing it all. The validation I once craved in my teens and early 20s now repulsed me. I hated everything about the life I created, the people, the place, and the person I'd become. What's worse, I lost my love for creating art. The animation industry truly made me dead inside. One of the saddest things to happen to an artist, besides personal tragedy. So I've cut a nice 45-degree angle on all my shelf pieces. I have these LED light channels. Basically, this is what the LED lights are going to go into. I need to cut a little groove or dado for these light channels to sit in. So I'm gonna do that with a router. I made some test cuts to figure out the depth and how to use the router. Surprisingly, very easy. I obviously messed up a few times, but pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp a piece of wood to use kind of as a jig or a guide of where the dado or the cut is going to go, and then I'll just make quick work of it. Hopefully I don't turn my shelf into a cheese block like I did this. Accuracy never used to be my forte. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I'm a perfectionist that finds being a perfectionist kind of difficult. Meaning, growing up, I don't know why, I would measure things, double measure things, triple measure things, and it would still be wrong because apparently I didn't know how to measure properly. I am a walking, whatchamacallit, disaster, hot mess. Clamps. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, I suck at life. It was a difficult decision, but I needed something substantially different. So I decided to move to a more rural place to get away from that life and the people that come with it. I wanted, for what seems to be the first time in my entire life, to slow down and maybe, just maybe, enjoy living. Wouldn't that be revolutionary? I have made a terrible mistake. I was messing around with the router while I was filming, and that happened. Fortunately, it's the underside of a shelf, so you're probably not going to see it. I will fill it with some wood filler so that it's not so bad, and then when I sand it down, I really don't think you'll be able to see it. You live and you learn with DIY, I guess. To be honest, this really upsets me as a semi-OCD person, but it is what it is. For the most part, it's great. The LED channel's gonna sit in there very nicely. Now that I got everything cut, I'm going to glue it up. Here's the plan. I have here strapping packaging tape. What I've seen people do on YouTube is tape it down first and then kind of fold it over. The pace of life here is slower, much slower. People take the time to talk to you and get to know you because you'll most likely see each other again pretty often. I've become a regular at several restaurants. My favorite cafe knows my coffee order. That's never happened before in my entire life. Not perfect. Coming from a big city, I noticed strange habits I didn't realize I had. I talked too fast and constantly cut people off on accident. I'd find myself tailgating cars because that's just the way everyone drove in LA. Worst of all, with my old career gone and no longer being able to blame living in California, I realized I had a lot of unmanaged anxiety to tackle. When you've been hyper stressed out for most of your adult life, you can't just slow down. Oh, God damn it. Maybe, it did not work. Oh, good. Take renovating this old house. I'm constantly concerned with how long it takes and not going fast enough. Failing to meet my self-imposed deadlines would make me feel incompetent. Not sure that worked because it's not exactly lining up properly. Great, I have to undo all the taping. Story of my life, doing and then undoing and then doing again. Here I am in this idyllic, quiet town with gorgeous views and deer that roam by every morning, and I'm consumed with all the little minute details I have to get done before the end of the day. I lived as a constant ball of stress and anxiety for the first few months of being here, but I knew I shouldn't be. It was also confusing. I came here in pursuit of a different life, didn't I? I feared, what if I'm stuck like this forever? No matter where I go, I'll never be able to let go of my baggage. But I was changing. It was just happening in tiny little increments, too small for me to notice. After each completed project, the house felt more and more like home, and the strangest things started happening. I felt like a little piece of me was being put back together. That sounds really woo-woo and corny, but trust me, I'm the last person to believe in that stuff. I noticed I was dealing with less and less anxiety each week. For the first time, I started to let go of the person I used to be, and to stop punishing myself for needing that Hollywood period of my life. I started learning what it meant to be truly kind to yourself. Time to solve all my problems and cover up all my mistakes with wood filler. I didn't want to have to do this, but it is inevitable. When I moved here, I wasn't 100% sure the slow living life was going to solve any of my quarter life crisis problems. I was just desperate to cut out everything that wasn't working, like a cancerous tumor. I let my instincts decide what was good for me instead of rationalizing and overthinking every little action, and it actually turned out okay. This is the result. I'm not entirely sure I was as clean and efficient about this as some, I don't know, experienced woodworker would be, but look, all the holes are filled. Time to sand. I'm gonna use 120 grit sandpaper and try to sand off the wood filler parts first, and hopefully it'll look nice. To prevent long-term health issues, masks. I don't always remember. To prevent eye cancer, visors. And to prevent hearing damage, this thing. My lust to create is also coming back. That might not mean much to you, but I really thought I'd never feel it again. So things didn't go exactly to plan. If you remember, I filled this dent up with wood filler earlier. I didn't quite push it in enough, so there's some spots where it didn't sand all the way, so I have to redo the wood filler. Same with that, there's some like little pinprick holes. I guess you really gotta shove it in. Gonna shove that wood filler in. That's what she said. That's also kind of the case for some of these gaps, so I have to do another round of wood filling. These are the benefits I've gained by trying out slow living for just 6 months. As the new year starts, I'm excited to document what works and doesn't work for me in this new life. Through self-improvement challenges, DIY, and slow living, this is what can happen when you stop living to be what society wants and instead take control over your own happiness by walking down a different path. After another round of sanding, it's looking pretty perfect. I'm so excited! Time to stain and oil this baby, and then do it again for the other part of the shelf. Check the links down below for all the helpful products I used in this video. If you want more self-improvement and DIY videos, check out these videos next.